Good morning, everyone. Hello, teachers.
Morning, ma'am.
It's nice
Morning, ma'am.
it's nice to see you all on the screen after meeting you all in person.
More
Thank
people
you,
are
ma'am.
joining, so we're just
Oh.
taking a few moments.
Yeah, we are just taking few more moments as more and more people are joining. Just pardon a 5 minutes delay, okay, in starting of the session.
Good morning, everybody. Bear with us. We have more people joining. I'm going to keep everybody's microphones mute.
Yeah, so as and when you'll be required to answer, we'll unmute your microphone. Otherwise, we'll be muting your microphones, all of yours, okay?
All right, more people coming in. Sivang, you're admitting them.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody.
May I request you all to keep your videos on, please? Your microphone on mute and your videos on.
Please also make sure you change your name to your full name, not your phone's name. You can do this by going to participants, finding yourself, and rename, selecting rename, and type your real name in. So I'm seeing somebody with OnePlus Nord. You can go to participants and change your name. Find your name and change it from the participants menu. Thank you, Sering. Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So,
Thank you.
Nipa, please unmute. I muted all, so you get everybody, please keep your microphones on mute to avoid background interruptions. When we need to hear from you, we will ask you to unmute.
Right. So good morning, everyone. We are formally announcing the start of our first webinar, a review webinar related to the phase 1. I'm Dr. Nipa Oza, as all of you know me, and I welcome you all to an RTT review webinar number 1 on the 2nd of December 2022. This project is launched by Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council, LAH, and we all are thankful for giving us this platform and launching this project to all the government officials at LAHDC, LAH. Before we move any further in the webinar, we would like you to get familiar with whatever rules we have here for you to attend the webinar. So I would like to hand this microphone over to my colleague, Ms. Tarana Chatterjee Patel, a co-trainer and an advisor on RTT. She would walk you through the rules. Over to you, Tarana.
Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure to finally see your faces. I have been enjoying the photographs and also engaging with you on Facebook, on our Facebook group. It has been wonderful to hear about the program from Dr. Nipa and our colleagues in LAH. And I'm tuning in from Los Angeles. So it's a pleasure to be with all of you at 9 p.m. my time. And it's not as cold as LAH, but as Ladakh. But I'm sure you're all enjoying the winter time. So welcome. And we have people continuously joining in. And it's really great to see such a wonderful attendance. I'm going to begin by saying thank you to LAHDC and all our supporters to make this program successful. The webinar series that we are teaching right now is a way of reviewing and looking back at the training that we have done so far, and also preparing you while you're enjoying the winter time to take on the school year when it opens again with all the learning that you have had from RTT. It's going to be a really fun session. Are you ready? Look, we are going to start with a session plan where I want to tell you that we have some meeting rules, which I'll be explaining. We'll be doing a quick review with Dr. Nipa of all the topics that you've covered in phase 1 after that. And there'll be a couple of activities, scenarios that we're giving you today to apply the learning that you did. For that, I'm going to be putting you in breakout rooms, which means little groups on the Zoom webinar. You have to do nothing. You'll just be put in a group and you have to have a conversation. You have to talk to your group members to solve or to discuss the possible answers to the scenarios we give you. So far, so good. So following the 2 activities, we're going to do a wrap up, a round off with Dr. Nipa of the insights. What have we learned so far through the activities, and also a summary again of the sessions you had in Ladakh with Dr. Nipa and other instructors. Finally, we have time for some questions and answers and your feedback. We're going to use a polling function, which means that you will see a pop-up on your screen like this. Just watch. And I'm going to ask you to select what you'd like to answer. So here is your first poll. What are you going to do during the winter break that's just about to happen? Can you see the poll? Please select the answer of your choice. Some people are very honest. I like that.
Yeah.
Sleep a lot.
I know. Who would plan lesson for the next year?
Yeah,
I
who's
wouldn't,
that?
teachers.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Let me tell you. I would rather play with my kids and with my family in the snow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I might cook my favorite food, but I would
Yes.
rather have somebody else cook for me, you know, if you ask me.
So teachers, if you are really being diligent, please relax. Please be kind to yourself. Sleep a lot, cook your favorite food.
Yes.
We don't
Sleep
want
a
you to
lot.
be planning
Winters
less.
are for, getting snuggled in a
Yes.
quilt, right? And then
Absolutely.
have a fireplace, have a hot steaming cup of tea and coffee, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm
Great.
seeing some
So
great, unbelievable results, Tarana.
absolutely. So go play in the snow, but the top one is plan lessons. And I don't believe it. I don't believe you
I
all.
know, so don't I. Please be honest, my dear teachers.
But I'm happy to see that play in the snow with the family is the next runner-up. So
Right.
great to hear what you are planning for the next week and the coming month. From here, please mute everybody. Please mute yourself.
Right. Okay.
To avoid any background noise. Let me move on to the session rules. And if you think I'm too fast or you cannot understand me, please also type in the chat and I will slow down. Same goes for Dr. Nipa.
Right.
I think this might be a first experience on a webinar for many of you, many of us, right? So be communicative with us. Please keep us informed. Type in the chat if you have any questions. And Sevang or I will help you during the session if there is a problem. Okay. As far as your microphone goes, the reason we ask you to mute it is so that any background noise does not disturb the presentation. When you are required to speak, we will ask you to raise a hand using the raise a hand function in Zoom. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, Sevang, please keep track of muting people. Thank you. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you should see a hand raise function. By clicking it, you raise a hand. If you raise a hand in your screen, we might miss you because on my screen, there are 50 little people who I might miss, right? So please use the raise a hand function on your screen, and I will see a little hand on your video, which will allow us to select you to give an answer. So far, so good. Is everybody with me? Okay. Can you try and raise a hand just so that we can experiment, just we can test the raise a hand function? Very good. Setting, thank you. Who else?
Excellent.
Can anybody try and raise their hand? Very good.
Excellent, excellent. We are doing great.
Yes, this is great. Okay, now you can go to the same button and lower your hand. Yeah, just remove the hand, lower the hand. Thank you very much. So raise a hand function is at the bottom of your screen. Okay. Your camera, please keep it on. It's lovely to see these wonderful faces in the morning. And we want to be engaged with you face to face. So please keep your cameras on. We understand if your connection is slow or if there is some background interruption.
But
otherwise,
appreciate if you can keep your camera on, right?
Yeah, otherwise, please keep it on. Yeah. Finally, we are going to use something called a breakout room on Zoom. Some of you might have experienced it, but a breakout room is very similar to Dr. Nipa putting you in a little group in the classroom, right? Here, it'll happen on Zoom. And you have to do nothing. I will put you in a breakout room. You will automatically see 4 or 5 group members who you can interact with. And then I will remove you from the breakout room into the main group. Okay, so all you have to do is interact, talk to each other when you enter a breakout room. And we will communicate. I will send you messages while you're in your breakout room discussing with your group members. It is very similar to the classroom, just on the screen. Okay. Last but not least, this session is being recorded, and we will be sharing the recording later on so that those who missed it can access it. But those who are here, you are at an advantage because you get to talk to us directly, live, and answer your questions as well. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Nipa for a quick review of all the topics you covered in phase 1. Thank you, Nipa.
All right. Thank you, Tarana. All right, so let's move on fast. We'll be moving on faster as it is a revision. So on the first day of our phase 1, we did second language acquisition, right? I hope all of you remember that module, and we learned about 6 most popular and most prevalent theories in teaching children a second language or a foreign language. And in our cases, it's English, right? So the first theory was learning versus acquisition, in which we discussed that learning is a formal process. It happens in the classroom, whereas acquisition is an informal process, involuntary process, and it always happens out of the classroom when a learner is exposed to a lot of English in the form of listening and speaking without getting any formal training. They understand and finally start using English. So we discussed this theory related to learning versus acquisition. Then we went on to discuss about input hypothesis, I+1. Remember, a person sitting in the chair and the other person trying to give them something from a distance. Remember that game we played? Okay, so what does input hypothesis says? It says that you need to provide your learners with comprehensible, that is something they can understand, compelling, that is very interesting, relevant, that is something which they can relate to, and meaningful, which has some meaning and role in the real life. You need to provide your learner with the material and with the teaching which is relevant, compelling, that is interesting, meaningful, and something they can understand, comprehensible. But this material or this teaching should be slightly more than what they can grasp in order for them to progress in their learning journey. That was our input hypothesis. Second one was affective filter. I'm sure each one of you remember that Sridev is clipping, right? The way she tries to place an order in a cafe in Los Angeles and then gets dismally, disheartened by the way in which that cafe attendee was, treating her. All of us remember that, right? What did it say? That people who have low confidence, a lot of anxiety, and people who just cannot, who just do not think that they are capable of learning English and have no motivation, they end up grasping much lesser than people who are more confident, who have very, very less amount of anxiety, and who are extremely motivated to learn this language. That was our affective filter. Next was natural order, in which we discussed 5 stages of speaking, learning to speak English. First stage was silent stage, right? Where they don't speak, they just understand. Second was early production stage, where they start speaking in monosyllables, right? Third was the speech emergence stage, where they start speaking simple sentences. And fourth was intermediate stage, when they become almost well prepared in having discussion, presenting arguments, presenting their thoughts and ideas, and even teaching or explaining somebody something in English. And final stage was advanced stage, when we attain the proficiency just like a native speaker, right? That was our natural order. In natural order, we discussed that there are some grammatical forms which we acquire later in life. There is a specific order. For example, we understand and pick up ing forms fastest, and we understand and pick up third person singular as or is in the later stages of our learning journey. In between, there are stages which we already discussed, right? So that was our natural order hypothesis. Then we went on to discuss monitor hypothesis, where we discussed that there is a device in our brain which acts as a monitor. When we write or speak English, this device tells us, oh, it's wrong. You need to revise it. You need to correct it. So we'll find as teachers, we find many such learners who are extremely good at writing, but when you ask them to get up and speak, they hesitate, they self-correct, they generally repeat, and they don't sound very confident. And that is because of this monitor at play in our brains, right? Last but not the least, we discuss Vygotsky's sociocultural theory. Putting it in simpler forms, what we did is we discussed that people learn by social interaction. We develop our intelligence, we develop our language through social interaction, right? So in here, we discuss the zone of proximal development, where we need a more knowledgeable person in our classroom scenario. Children need teachers or some smart peers to make them understand difficult concept and help them progress in their learning journey. Yeah, we call them more knowledgeable others. We also discussed the importance of scaffolding and how we could provide scaffolding to our learners in forms of visuals, posters, graphics, vocabulary, list of vocabulary, and by changing our posture, our tone of voice, volume of voice, using our facial expressions and hand gestures. So this was our total learning from module number 1 and 2, second language acquisition, principles and theories, and implication of second language acquisitions in the classroom. Now, let me ask you a question here. Which of these hypotheses, which I told you about, tells us that, Tarana, could you please put in the poll? Tells us that we should provide input, some more input to challenge the students beyond the current capacity. Which was that hypothesis? Now, here are the options. Please select the right one. Everybody, please select the right one.
So far, so good.
Yes. All of you are doing well. Go ahead.
Few more moments. Yes.
Everybody, please use the hit, press the hit button, right? Oh, wow. I'm seeing some great results, Tarana.
Yeah.
Okay,
good memory.
So, yes, I think our sessions didn't go into vain, right? Everybody remembers a lot, and I'm happy.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
There is a hint in the question. So for those of you who are not sure whether it's monitor or learning versus acquisition, there is a hint.
Yes, there is a hint for you in the question itself. I've been very, generous enough in designing this question because I want all of you to get the correct option.
Yes. So it looks like most of us are clear, and the answer is Nipa.
Yes, it is input hypothesis I+1. We always
Absolutely.
provide something little more challenging to our learners in terms of input so that they progress further in their learning journey. Right, Tarana?
Yes, absolutely. And
okay.
And here is the result. So everybody can see a majority of you have recognized this hypothesis. So good job for that. Moving on to the next topic, Nipa.
Right. So next day we discussed how to teach speaking, right? So in that module, as you remember, we discussed two main things. One is criteria for setting up speaking activities. What were the criteria did we discuss? Number one, I'm sure you remember, was fluency. Second one was accuracy. Then we discussed appropriacy. Then we went on to discuss further what is functional language. Language which is used to carry out specific function. For example, language of apologizing, language of apology, language of giving direction, language of directing somebody to cook a recipe, right? Language of advising, right? Language of agreeing and language of disagreeing. Then we discussed briefly about the pronunciation, what are the features, and we discussed the place of vocabulary in creating fluency in our English speech. So fluency means a natural flow of speech without much hesitation and repetition, which sounds natural to our ears. Accuracy means when we use perfect forms of grammatical structures and well-chosen words to convey our message or emotions or opinion or arguments anywhere. And appropriacy means if we are talking in the classroom or if you all are talking to the principal or Honorable Deputy Chairman, then you'll be talking in a very formal language, right? So appropriacy means whether we are using language which is appropriate for a formal situation, or we are being informal with friends, with our loved ones, with family members. We use an informal tone, and choice of words and choice of grammatical structures also differ, right? So this is what we discussed about criteria for setting up speaking activities. Then we moved on to discuss what kind of activities are there if we want to give our learners some activities for learning speaking. There we discussed 3 types of activities, if you remember. Controlled practice, where we design the activity, we give them the worksheet, we control that activity, and learners do what we say. The answers are fixed and expected. There is just one answer to one question, and it is totally teacher-led. I also told you that all over the world, in all the English classes, 80 to 85% of the activities are that of controlled practice activities. But that does not undermine the importance of freer practice, because this is where our learners relate to what they've learned with the real world practices, right? They are going to go out into the real world. They are going to place order in a restaurant. They are going to book tickets. They are going to the airport and going to stand in a check-in queue, right? They are going to board a flight and they need to find the gate from where they can board a flight. So all these real life simulations happens in this freer practice, where we let our learners go. And now let me remind you that counselor and client activity which you did, a role play, right? So role play, simulation, debates, discussion, these are all freer practice activities. Whereas you ask them to fill in the gap, or you ask them to do a sentence transformation, or if you ask them to answer an MCQ, that's all controlled practice, right? Then we had discussed a very important type of activity, which is information gap, where one of the students is missing an important piece of information, and to get that information, they have to talk to the other students. This information gap activities are extremely useful to encourage fluency among your learners and generate a lot of language. Yeah. So we discussed these 3 kinds of activities, and we also discussed that putting learners in pairs and groups is perhaps the most important thing to teach in order to teach them speaking. So having collaborative activities should be our goal. We had also discussed what are the conditions for staging fluency activity. Along with that fluency and accuracy go hand in hand. You cannot design only activities based on fluency, or you cannot design activities based only on accuracy. You have to strike a balance, because a fluent speaker of English who doesn't have any idea how to speak correctly will create chaos in our class. May I request you to mute your microphone, please? So you need to strike a balance while you design activities, and your activities should have both, which encourages fluency as well as accuracy. And of course, some activities have to be done on an individual level, right? So based on this, we had discussed what are the problems we can have, while staging the speaking activities. And also we reviewed a few very popular speaking activities and your role as a teacher and learner's role in carrying out these activities. So moving on to our next poll, which activity requires the learners to communicate with each other to gain a missing piece of information? You just have to select one option. Oh, wow. Tarana, this is great.
Yeah, very instant, very clear.
Excellent.
Everybody's listening, everybody is present. Hopefully you all have tried these activities already in your classrooms.
Yeah, and if not, please start experimenting. The information gap activities are one of the most, result-oriented activities you could bring on in your classroom.
Yeah, and they create so much focus and engagement, right? Students love it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you end up generating a lot of language apart from your target language, right, Tarana?
Correct,
And that's
correct.
what we are looking. You'll have a
Natural
recycling of
language.
previously taught topics also.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to introduce speaking in your classroom. Wow. So what's the result, Tarana? What does it say?
Looks like everybody is almost
Information.
the majority is very clear of the concept, and the answer
I
is information gap, as
I
we are
wonder
discussing.
who has written controlled practice, because just now I
Mhm.
clarified that controlled practice happens only, which is totally controlled by teacher. And when you do fill in the gaps or MCQs or match A with B and all, right? So that's controlled practice.
Mm.
It's not at all, nobody is missing any piece of information here. Same happens in freer practice, right? We don't provide a missing piece of information. We just provide information, period. That's all in freer practice.
Information gap is very distinct, you know,
Exactly.
in terms of, I mean, freer practice, interaction practice could be closer, but when it comes to information gap, that's actually information that you're not providing deliberately on purpose.
Right. Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
Looks
Great.
like, you know, more than half of the participants are clear on this. If you're not,
Right.
please look up your notes, your handouts, and
Exactly.
ensure you understand what Dr. Nipa is explaining here about information gap. Good job,
Right?
everybody.
Okay. Yes, excellent.
Let's move on.
Excellent work. Yeah. So then we move on to our final day of phase 1, when we discussed teaching listening, which is one of the most, ignored part or section or skill during our classroom teaching. I think each one of us agreed on that. And then when I showed you on the board that all over the world, out of these 4 skills, 45% of the time, what we do is we listen. Yeah, 45% of time is occupied by listening, and we are ignoring such a crucial skill in the classroom. Imagine, right? So we discussed the sub skills such as listening for gist, that is listening to get the main idea. Then listening for specific information such as proper nouns and date and age and year and whatnot. Then listening for detailed information when we have to explain something in detail. Then we really have to listen it very carefully. Then we also discuss listening for inference, where we would, try to, judge the speaker's mood and their attitude and aptitude towards the text, whatever they are speaking about, towards the topic, right? So again, we also practice relevant activities pertaining to this particular sub-skills. And we also discuss stages of designing a listening lesson. That is pre-listening. We do something before we start the listening. Then we give them some activity during they are listening to the text, audio text, or watching a video. And after the listening exercise, listening text is completed, we do some activities with our learner that is known as post-listening. So during pre-listening, you have had an experience. We started our session with listen and draw. Remember the bear and the cage, right? Many of you had drawn a bat rather than a bear. I'm sure you cannot forget that, right? It really generated a lot of laughter in our classes, and it was quite an energetic session. Then during listening, what we did was stop, describe, and go, right? Stop, paraphrase, and go. Then during post-listening, we were discussing activities such as designing a title, writing the summary, right? Designing 2 questions from the listening text, and so on. So let's move on to the poll for teaching listening. Which of these activities are done during the listening stage in a listening lesson? Please press the button for the right option. Oh, wow. Great.
People are awake.
Yes,
and
very much.
attentive.
And
This is great.
and the winter cold has still not affected them. I'm so happy about that.
I think it's a good effect. In fact,
I
I don't
know.
know about you all, but I feel very alive and awake in the wintertime. I love the cold, not as harsh as in Ladakh. Here we have maybe 4 degrees Celsius at night in Southern California, but in the daytime, there is a lot of sun and it's very refreshing. So my brain works a little extra. I hope it looks like it's the same effect on all of you. Is it
Right.
a sunny
Okay.
day? Yeah, it looks like a sunny day in Leh as well.
I am surprised. What is happening,
Not
guys?
everybody's in Leh, though, right? In Ladakh, all parts of
Yeah.
Ladakh. Look at this. Listen and draw. What do you think, Nipa?
No, listen and draw. We did at the start of the lesson. Remember that bear and the cage and the woman and the picnic basket, right? We do it as a pre-listening activity, listen and draw. We had done stop, describe and go
So,
with that Canadian video. If you remember, Toronto video. Yeah. So that was stop, describe and go, my dear. Not listen and draw. I think you need to refresh your memory related to teaching listening. Please refer to our workbook. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, unfortunately, we won't be able to give you an applause this time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The
Okay.
answer, the correct
Answer
answer.
is, yeah, correct answer is stop, describe and go. You
Yes.
stop the audio or video after just a small chunk of listening, and then you ask a question to describe whatever, ask a question to your learners that describe what did they hear, and then again you switch on the audio. We did that during the Toronto video, 10 best places to see in Toronto. Now do you remember? Okay, so that we did during the listening. So during listening is stop, describe and go. Okay. Yeah. So moving on to our
Next slide on
part.
journaling.
Why should we write a reflection journal? People, I mean, all of you, I think, because I've interacted with almost each one of you, barring, I think, a couple of batches, I've always stressed the importance of writing a reflection journal. Why? Because as adult learners and teachers, we need to take control of our learning. Learning means learning as a professional. I'm not just talking about learning English. We are teaching English. But as a professional, we need to take control of our learning and using a reflection journal to write what did we do well during teaching today and what could have been done better, or where did we mess up, if I may say so, during teaching, because each one of us, everybody does this one time or the other, right, Tarana?
Absolutely.
So what we did, we couldn't do better if we journal that, and then if we actually think and reflect how to improve our teaching methods related to the lessons or the academic calendar or the curriculum, whatever is your, go-to thing. And then we develop a problem solving and analytical skill, because first we analyze what went wrong and why it went wrong. That needs analytical skill. And then we treat it as a problem and we try to solve that problem. So we become problem solvers. We become our own teacher. What better thing we can do than becoming our own teacher, right? Then we understand our strengths and our weaknesses, where we are good and where we feel we fall short, of achieving the desired standards. And yes, we become, experimenters. We become change makers. We innovate. We think out of the box to solve such a problem, right? And then we reflect on how we can improve our students' scores, how we can make them understand better, how we can make them learn English better, right? So writing a reflection journal is perhaps one of the best things a teacher could ever do. I have, piles of such notebooks and diaries where I keep writing where I went wrong and where I did well. I most commonly refer to where I went wrong, right? Okay, so moving on to next. Yes.
Let's look at.
Right. How is your classroom teaching different since RTT? You attended 2 phases, right? So you can just select one choice. You can just select one option, sorry. So think about it. How have you changed your teaching? Have you started speaking more English? Have you started designing detailed lesson plans? Or you have started giving opportunities, more opportunities to your learners for using English in the classroom? You started using audio and videos in your classroom? Or you started understanding your students' need. Why do they need to learn English?
Yeah,
And
and
how?
maybe there are more things in that have happened for you, but select the top one, the most important one, right? We want to know what is the single most important change that has happened,
Exactly.
most prominent change. Oh, that's great. Look
Oh,
at
wow.
the,
I
yeah.
know.
Mhm.
I know.
I speak more English during my lessons.
Yes, and
I
I
create
create
more
more
English
English
usage
usage of
opportunities.
this is
Mhm.
so heartening,
So,
so like heartwarming for me to see this.
yes,
Because
50%.
the
Mhm.
more you use English in your classroom and more opportunities you give your learners for using English, that's the way for them to progress further in their learning journey. I'm so happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course,
But
we hope that more teachers write down lesson plans.
exactly,
I
yeah.
think we've been,
And I do hope more teachers use videos and audio in their teaching. I hope
yes,
that too. Yeah.
yes. I think it's the, we are talking to the internet generation more and more. We're talking to
Right.
the gaming generation and the
I
virtual
know.
reality generation now. You know, we all are were the internet generation. Our new generation is beyond that. They are the virtual reality generation, and they really benefit from visuals and listening through video and audio. So please do that. And I would also say, you know, even if it is a little post-it, thinking about the parts of your lesson right before you start, even if it is just minutes before you start, but noting
Exactly.
that down. And if you keep a 1 week practice, just to note down what you're going to start with, what you're ending with, and what are the 2, 3 top activities that are happening in your lesson, I guarantee you, you will see more and more ideas flowing through your mind. It's a neurological process that happens when you start documenting, like Nipa said, journaling also, post lesson journaling, but this is pre-lesson planning, right? It's as equally important. So I really encourage you all to, instead of planning activities, just write a few lesson plans during the break. Try that.
This reminds me, Tarana, let's talk about action research by teachers in our next video cast.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
If
Because that should be very helpful for these teachers to understand the importance and how they can do it on a very small scale. You know, it's very easy.
fantastic. I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about action research, the benefits, and starting with
Right.
lesson planning and journaling. That's where action research begins.
Right. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
All right, it's
Okay.
time for activities.
Yes. Now I think I've had enough of talking. I just leave it for Tarana now to take up from here. But before she takes up, let me tell you, we are going to show you a video of 2 minutes where an Iranian woman is appearing for her speaking exam, right? And in front of an examiner. And she's talking for 2 minutes continuously. Now, what you have to do is listen to this Iranian woman as your student, and you have to think how you can help her. If she was your student, how you can help her in developing her fluency and her accuracy. What would you do? What activities you would suggest for her, right? And
Mhm.
for this, I think Tarana is going to put you in breakup rooms, right, Tarana?
Yes.
Breakout rooms.
We'll do a
And in the-
5-minute group activity after watching this video together. You will be randomly grouped with 4 or 5 people and you want to talk. I'd like you to discuss which example of a fluency activity and an accuracy activity. So 2 examples that you would
Okay.
create to help this woman. It's a 2-minute video. Nipa, I'm going to start the video, but please pause me when, hang on. Please pause me when you want me to stop.
Hi, from Speak
Okay?
More Clearly.
Just
Let me
1
ask you
minute.
something.
I'm going
Are
to
you
stop
unhappy?
share and start fresh. 1 moment. Did the share stop?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's stopped.
Share screen.
All right, you're
Almost there.
watching a YouTube video.
This is
real
the
time.
speaking
Just
test of
see
the
the use of video, YouTube video in the classroom, okay? We are just giving you a hands-on practice, a demo. Yeah,
All right, 2 minutes. Observe the woman giving an interview to her teacher, but we are looking for the English and what she struggles with so that you can design a fluency and an accuracy activity practice for this student.
all right. Everybody,
Okay, that's 1 minute.
just
of
let
taking
us
notes.
know
Now
whether
you
you
have,
can hear.
2 minutes to talk about the topic. I will stop you when the time is over. Ready?
Can you
Yes,
all
ma'am.
hear the video? Please
Can you
increase
hear
your
the
sound.
video?
Yes,
Please.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Please increase your own device's sound in case if the volume is low. Okay. I'm going to play now. We will not interrupt.
Thank
Start
you.
speaking.
Something I own. I want to talk about my camera, which I got it from a shopping center in Tehran, and in Mirdamad, and I have it for 5 years, and because I love taking photos, and I took a lot of photos which were memorable, in mostly in traveling and some occasions like ceremonies and gathering with my
Ma'am, did you
family
share
and
the
friends.
screen?
That
Yes.
makes me
Ma'am, we can't see the screen.
I don't know.
We are not able to
It's
see.
that they are
Suddenly they can't see the screen.
Can we make the screen bigger, ma'am?
Okay. I can do
Is it
that.
possible to make the screen bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
It's too small. Yeah.
Okay. You can adjust it on your phone too. My making the
Okay.
screen bigger should not affect too much. Okay. So
Okay.
hopefully this helped.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Now can
Every-
you see the screen, all of you?
yeah, everybody could see the screen. I think it
Ma'am.
was just one person.
We have to click the video.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So I think we will have to start again.
Yeah, I'm going to rewind it a little bit. Please pay close attention because you're thinking of how you're going to teach more fluency and accuracy to this student. Okay.
Mhm.
So listen carefully.
5:45.
She is soft spoken.
5:45.
which I
2 minutes to talk about the topic. I will stop you when the time is over. Ready?
Please mute
Start.
yourselves.
something I own. I want to talk about my camera, which I got it from a shopping center in Tehran, and in Mirdamad, and I have it for 5 years, and because I love taking photos, and I took a lot of photos which were memorable, in mostly traveling and some occasions like ceremonies and gathering with my family and friends. That makes me I don't know. It's that they are uh, what because my it's related my in my job. I have to I have to work with my camera because I used to directing and working as an cameraman in press TV. So it helps me to improve my skills like shooting, taking photos, and some sort of things.
I'll take back that piece of cake, please. And
All
your
right.
notes.
Can stop now. Can stop sharing this. So now, okay. Tara now.
Yeah, just
So
1
now-
minute. I am sharing the slides. In the meantime, I'm also going to move everybody into a breakout room randomly. Your question, as you know, is as follows. Nipa, could you please remind them of that task?
Yeah, so again, let me tell you that you heard this woman, she's talking about something she owns. She's talking about her camera and why it is important for her. Now just think of the way she was talking, number one, right? The volume, the tone, the pronunciation, then the kind of words she used to describe her camera and the use and the importance of that camera. Did she falter? Was she appeared as though she was at a loss for words? So what would you do to help her increase her fluency? Number one. And did you find any errors while she was speaking? If yes, then how would you improve her accuracy? Which kind of grammar exercises you would suggest for her as an accuracy activity? That is something you need to think about. Again, I'm telling you that what tenses did she use? Think about that. Were they appropriate? Yeah.
Okay. So
are
we're
we
going to
ready for
move
the
on.
breakout rooms?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody, just hold on. You have to do nothing. Just stay put. Just watch your screen and you will be put into a breakout room with 5 or 6 participants. And please discuss and come up with at least 1 or 2 ideas together for the fluency and accuracy tasks you will give this student. Ready? I'm creating the breakout rooms. You have about 5 minutes to do this activity. Okay. Please join your breakout rooms as you see them, see the notification. If you're still here, something is not right. So please make sure you're looking at the breakout room notification and clicking join. Tashi, Rickson, Stenson, did you get a notification? You don't have to do anything. You should be moved to a breakout room. Okay, is that Karma and Jigmet? Are all of you discussing? Please unmute yourself and discuss the activity. You have to unmute. Okay, so you can unmute yourself and discuss. Yes, Gretchen, yes. The other teachers, please hit unmute and talk about this task.
I can't see anyone on my screen, ma'am.
Yeah, I think people's videos are off, but they should be able to unmute at least and talk. Here's Jigmet. So both of you, please talk.
Okay, only
Good.
we two.
Yeah. And then make the other people, maybe they have stepped away. Do you have any questions, everybody? Please unmute. You can unmute and discuss this activity together. Stenson, Saira, yes. And I see a phone Vivo, somebody who has not changed their name. Please unmute. And Sevang, are you there?
Ma'am, I could not understand how to do this.
Yeah. So now that you watch the video,
Yeah.
right, think about how you can help her improve her fluency and accuracy, right?
Okay,
Maybe
ma'am.
some activities, some examples Dr. Nipa gave you during the session.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I should go to the next room to help other people. Looks like your colleagues are not near their phone. So please call them. Please ask them. Sevang, Stanzen, please join. Is everybody talking? Please unmute and please discuss the question. Okay, we have a few participants here who are not in breakout rooms. Stanzen, Sevang, do you know what might be going on?
I don't know. But
It's
I'm
okay.
checking
I'm
the
going to be
breakout
closing the
and
breakout rooms soon.
we have around 20 rooms and we have around 5 to 6 participants in each room. In 4.
Yeah. Many participants are not near their Zoom phones or laptops because they are logged in, but they are not there. So some people are just waiting to talk.
Yeah.
It's okay. Everybody, we are going to be closing the breakout rooms. If you did not get a chance to discuss, it's okay. You will be able to answer and listen to other colleagues' answers in the main room. So I'll be ending the breakout rooms now. Welcome back, everybody. This was just a learning experience. It looks like many of you had some trouble finding your colleagues. So many people have their Zoom on, but they are not near their phone. So let's try to discuss this together as people come back into the main room. Just waiting for a few more seconds. Nipa, did you have participants engaged in your rooms? Please unmute.
3 to 4 of them were talking, yes.
Very good.
But I'm a little bit saddened that all of them were using their native language rather than English to discuss.
Yeah, that is always a comfort zone, right?
May we request you all to keep your camera on, please?
Yes.
So
Camera
that we can
off.
see you.
We will consider if your cameras are off, that is not a full presence, right? So your attendance.
And we'll consider that you were not present in the session. Yeah?
Yes.
Because during breakout room, we could make that out. Many of you were not in the Zoom session, although you were signed in, but you were not there. Okay. So that
Absolutely.
is
Unfortunately, I know Saira had that problem. She was alone because the rest of the people were not in front of their devices. But many rooms were very alive.
Somebody raised hand.
Yes. So now we can start taking some answers. Raise your hand if you want to share what fluency and accuracy activities can you recommend and do in your classroom for this student.
Yeah, we have many raised hands, Tarana. Can we
Yeah,
start
let's take the first three. We are going to start with Sering Mo and then Sering Tundup. And then I have somebody called N. So I'm going to unmute Sering Mo. Please share. We can't see you on screen, but it looks like your voice should come through.
Okay.
Yes, Sering, go ahead.
Hello, ma'am Nipa. Hello, ma'am Patel.
Thank you.
Okay,
hello.
I'm Sering Angmo from High School Achinathang.
Right.
Okay, first I would like to tell what the problem was with the lady there. She lacked confidence.
Okay.
And her vocabulary was weak.
Yes.
Grammatically also, she was weak at her grammar because her sentence structures were not good and we were not being able to understand what she actually was trying to tell.
Right. So could you give us an example of her erroneous sentence structure, please, Sering?
I don't remember exactly, ma'am, but what I could infer from the video, I'm telling you that.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what kind of activities would you suggest for her?
First of all, I would suggest a listening activity to her. Listening activity to her and listening. Then I'll go for some speaking activities.
Sering, we are talking about speaking activities only. Activities which can increase her fluency in speaking and activities which can increase her accuracy in speaking. So we'll not talk about listening here, my dear.
Okay, fine. So if speaking is concerned, we would encourage her more to come out of her comfort zone and speak English more often.
But still you have not answered. Which kind of fluency activity would you suggest?
Fluency activity, freer practice.
That's fine. Freer practice activities are always meant for fluency, but specifically what kind of activities?
Maybe we can ask the next.
What do we do? Yeah, we can move on to the next one.
Sure.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Sering.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, the next one.
Sering Tunder, the next person I see on the screen.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm Sering from Higher Secondary School, Bogdan. So, in this video, I saw that the lady who bought a camera has different problems. The most problem is that she don't have the confidence,
Right.
and secondly, she don't know how to present the idea, and because she don't have the vocabulary, and
Right.
third, she hesitate
Yes.
because of the lack of confidence.
Okay. So what kind of fluency activity would you suggest, Sering?
I suggest such kind to have a control practice and freer practice.
I got you, but in control practice, what specific activity would you suggest? And in freer practice, what kind of activities you will suggest?
First, we have to do control practice. After that, then freer practice. In
Got
control
you.
practice, suppose we teach such kind of students how to read properly, and then after that, then leave them in a group and then let them practice in a group. That is freer practice.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what about the fluency activity? Can you suggest any specific name of the activity? Not, this is quite vague.
Specific, what? I didn't understand, ma'am.
What kind of fluency activity would you suggest? There are types of activities which we discussed, right? Can anybody give me specific name of that activity which we do if we want to encourage fluency in the participants?
I'll give a specific
yes
activity, and best of input I+1 activity. I will apply here I+1 activity to increase her fluency, ma'am.
All right, okay. Can we move on to the next participant? Thank you so much. Yes, this has been very helpful. Input I+1, yes. Okay.
We have Dechen and Namgyal. Would you like to add something? Something specific?
Yes.
Maybe you can describe an activity, Nipa, as an example. It seems like people are still stuck on
if we
concepts.
want to encourage fluency, what we do is we encourage them to do simulations, role play, group discussions, a picture presentation or class presentations, right? These are all activities which increase their fluency, right? Where we can give them a problem to solve, and they can all get together and discuss what is the root cause of the problem and how they can suggest solution, right? So when you assign that kind of activities, you always end up encouraging fluency. So here, my question, what kind of fluency activity, now that I've given you so many examples, what kind of fluency activity you will suggest for her? Yes.
Anybody want to give a specific
Good morning,
activity?
ma'am.
Yes,
morning.
go ahead, Dechen.
I would like to go for sociocultural theory. And
yes,
sociocultural theory, I guess, appropriate for this learning. And I would opt for group discussion, ma'am.
Right, group discussion.
Yes.
And anybody else who can tell me that what kind of group discussion they should have? Should we give them a specific topic? Yes. Yes, Dechen. Namgyal.
They can discuss on whatever the topic they feel like.
Excellent. Mainly the topic which is so relevant to her day-to-day, everyday life and her interests, right? She mentioned that she is a press woman. She said pressman, but she is a reporter, right? So we can carry out activities with her which encourages her to talk about things that are familiar to her. Things that are familiar to a reporter, right? Such as news article, getting them printed in the newspaper, to collect the information to write an article, right? To take pictures of an ongoing event or an event which has already happened, right? So the things like that could always, encourage her to speak or use more and more English. But what about accuracy? Let us move on to accuracy. Did anybody find out where exactly in this such a short video, where exactly she was, faltering? As far as accuracy is concerned, yes, there was no confidence. Yes, lack of confidence. She was hesitating a lot, using a lot of fillers. But what else? Yes?
She was using monitor hypothesis, I guess.
Yes, she was using monitor hypothesis to some extent, but it was not the only reason for her lack of accuracy.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so could you see any specific example? Although it was a short time, but still, if anybody has picked up at least a couple of sentences where you felt that she needs to be given practice for this. Because one of you told me that her sentences were not linked. I think our first participant who answered. And I really was very happy when they said that they could not make out what she was saying and what she was linking, how she was linking her sentences. So first thing, what would you like to suggest for accuracy? What would you like to teach her and then give her the exercises related to accuracy? What was that? What will be that? Anybody? What do we use?
Tenses, ma'am. Tenses.
Which tense?
She should have been using past perfect tense.
Is it?
I mean, she was trying to say what she had been doing since so many days, isn't it?
She has been. That is, she could not distinguish between present perfect and simple past.
Okay.
Also, she could not distinguish when she could have used present perfect continuous. Last but not the least, we could use some accuracy activities directed at introducing her to linkers.
Linkers.
Right?
Okay, fine. Linkers, yeah.
Linkers were missing. She just didn't know what to use when. And a couple of discourse marker also wouldn't go amiss. Yeah. So these are the points we could have, focused on while we were thinking about giving her some accuracy activities, because accuracy activities are always meant for them to make correct and appropriate use of language, be it a functional language or using grammatical forms and structures, right? Okay.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next one?
Yes. Yeah. Last sentence, from now on, whenever you watch certain things, please think about this in terms of fluency and accuracy. And of course, vocabulary would be included in this. Yeah. That is, this part of exercise for you is known as creating language awareness within yourself. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Next.
Anybody else wants to add? Please mute your microphones. Anybody wants to add? Okay, I'm removing all the hands. And we're going to move on to the next activity.
Yeah, again, here we'll not be using breakout rooms, but you'll be given 2 minutes to think, right? Here I've already written vocabulary, express what she wants to say, choice of words were wrong, grammar force, tenses, and cohesion of structures, right?
Yeah,
that
this
is
was about
linkers.
the video.
Yeah, okay. So this was our answer to you. What was she missing? Yeah. Too
And
much
the
use
activities.
of a, and repetition, that shows lack of fluency. Yeah.
So these are the areas in which you can create fluency and accuracy activities. First, right?
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to introduce the second scenario, and I ask you all to listen very carefully, because we will go straight because of time, and time is always precious and short. We will all be here in the same room, and we are going to look at a scenario and discuss what are the possibilities for this student. Okay. Your student Tashi is selected to make a speech with a slide presentation for a waste management program in the school. She was selected on the basis of an essay she wrote on this topic. So you saw her essay as her teacher and you decided she is very articulated, she's writing well, let me select her. So Tashi writes without spelling errors and has a good command over grammar structures. Her slides for this presentation also look good and are easy to understand. Now, there were some challenges once you selected her. On the day of the presentation, Tashi freezes as she stands on the stage to present her slides. She starts to hesitate as she moves on. She self-corrects multiple times, repeats herself, and uses fillers like excessively. Her body language is showing nervousness and anxiety. She looks blocked from taking further action. So even though you saw that she had a very well-written essay and error-free slides, when it was the day to present, Tashi felt frozen and unable to speak with confidence and fluency for her presentation. This is what we'd like you to think about. We were hoping to put you in breakout rooms, but just raise your hand as soon as you think you have some answers to these questions. The first question is, what SLA hypotheses or theories are working in Tashi's situation? So Deshan marked this for the first video, saying that there are some hypotheses working. In this situation with Tashi, what hypotheses or theories in SLA could be working, could be in progress? Number two, how can you help her prepare for her speech so that she can overcome the challenges that she's facing and that she can speak comfortably? So how can you help her prepare? Again, we are focusing on activities, practice items, and a specific plan that you can follow to help students like Tashi. Also, number three, what activities or steps can you develop for a speaking plan for students like Tashi? So can you think of these questions and raise your hand when you're ready to answer? You don't have to answer all of them. You can choose to answer only one, and Namgyal is ready.
Just raise your hand, and when we ask you to unmute, then only please unmute your microphone, okay?
Nipa, I will unmute Namgyal.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. He's been waiting. He was there for the first one.
Yes, Namgyal. Go ahead.
Please unmute, Namgyal. I'm asking you to unmute.
Yes.
Namgyal, can you hear us? Can you please unmute? I see your hand raised.
Maybe it's mistakenly raised or what?
Let's move on to somebody who is Oppo, who has not changed their name. Who has
who is it?
No, I think there is no hand raised. Dechen again. Anybody else who has not answered yet would like to take a shot at this? Try it out. See if you can come up with some ideas. The point here is for us to together discuss. It's not a test. We're here to just share and learn. So raise your hand and try to answer a question, or at least share some ideas or opinions you have about this situation. Oh, we have Sering again, Sering Tundup and Dechen. Please, if you're ready, unmute yourself and share something.
Yes, ma'am. I think Tashi needs leadership skills.
Okay.
Yeah, once.
Confidence building.
I think that Tashi cannot present her topic, or he cannot express her ideas. She cannot, present her speech on the stage when he goes to stage to present her ideas. That time he was very nervous because she needs leadership skills. When teachers or students get leadership skills, that time we don't have shyness, we don't have any tense, so we can present anything very simply.
Yes, I
All
agree.
right.
But what specifically for developing these leadership skills will you do? What activities or steps can you do in your lesson?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes, Sari.
Again, I suggest to practice the control practice and freer practice. This is the most important things to improve the language, improve the confidence, everything, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
So in terms of learning how to preparing them to make a slide presentation, you will do, you can do some control practice pertaining to the slideshow, right? So keep the corners, the boundaries of your goal, the learning goal that you have for your student very defined. So we are talking more in general, but we want to talk in context. We want to say we're preparing her for presenting her slides. Specifically for this, what activities can we do that will build her confidence and her leadership? So thank you for that. And we're going to move on to Rinchan Angmo. I think you had your hand raised. If you can unmute. Rinchan, can you unmute, please?
Hello, everyone.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, ma'am, I think she had writing skills and she was good in writing, but the problem was her lack of confidence in speaking. So we should involve her more in class group activities, role plays, and give her more topics to speak on so that she builds confidence in speaking in English.
Right.
Excellent. Yeah.
Excellent. Anything else in this line? You're going in the correct direction, but related to this specific scenario, what would you do? Instead of making her, stand up in front of a huge crowd on the day of presentation, what would you do to prepare her for that particular event?
Yeah, before making her speak in front of the audience.
Yes.
Us try to make her vocabulary, choice of words, and everything perfect so that she has full confidence when she speaks in front of the audience.
She already has them perfect on her slides and on her essay. That's the reason you selected her, isn't it? So
yeah, but
that is not the question here. That's the question here is she just doesn't seem to be able to speak when facing a crowd.
Yeah.
So role play was
yes, role play. And anything in the class would you like to do with her before you expose her to such a huge crowd? What would you do?
Every time give her a speaking activity, involve her and other students also in speaking activity, because
excellent. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and group activities, give more chance to the students in speaking. In every lesson there should be a speaking activity done in the class, in whatever we teach.
Great. That's another thing. But I want an answer to our question number 1. Which SLA hypotheses are working in this situation? Accepting
input hypothesis.
Input, are you sure?
See,
she writes beautifully. She has created beautiful slides. That means there is no question of her not being able to understand her topic. That's not the question here. She has, gotten enough input. Which hypothesis could have stopped her from speaking? One we got from the first participant, that there is lack of leadership, but there is a lack of confidence as well. So where do we see lack of confidence? In which hypothesis? Yes. In which hypothesis?
I think we have Sonam also, who has raised her hand.
Yeah,
Sonam,
please ask them.
Perhaps we can.
Next one. Yeah, thank you, Rinchan. Yeah, go ahead. The next one.
So we have Sonam. Would you like to try and guess the hypotheses that are working? question 1. Dechen also had some thoughts, but Sonam, can you unmute yourself? Yes, please share.
Ma'am, hypothesis actually exactly I don't remember. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can suggest some activities for speaking.
Okay.
Like we can start from the classroom only by giving Tashi or the student who is weak in speaking more of speaking activities and role play activities. We can start from a small storytelling activity.
Excellent.
In the classroom,
Yeah.
from classroom only. Then later on, he or she can become a public speaker. And as far as theory is concerned, I'm sorry, ma'am, I don't remember.
All right, great
But
option. Thank
good
you
answers.
so much, Sonam. Yes, good
Yeah.
answer.
Ma'am,
Anybody?
yes, ma'am.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes,
I think she likes output hypothesis, ma'am.
Okay, great. So please explain what is an output hypothesis. Yes.
Yeah, we have to give exposure her to speak and arrange programs like debates, and must focus on her speaking skills. We have to give much focus on her speaking skills so that she could speak comfortably, and activities which are based on output hypothesis. We have to give her exposure in that types of activities.
All right, great.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Good shot. We have Sering Lanzas who is also waiting. So I'm going to ask you to unmute Sering.
Okay, ma'am. I think it's a monitor hypothesis as she has written a perfect essay but she's unable to perform herself on the stage. So I think it is controlling by her mind.
Excellent.
So yeah, we should give her this is the monitor hypothesis.
Yes, it is monitor hypothesis in play along with an affective filter hypothesis showing lack of confidence to speak publicly. Excellent.
Yes. Lot of strings connecting, lots of ideas connecting. I think Dechen and Sering Angmo still have their hands raised. Do you want to add something?
Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, I wanted to add about the affective filter hypothesis.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I won't be able to explain it in detail. Sorry, ma'am.
Oh, it's okay.
But you're guessing that is at work here,
Yeah,
right?
filter
And like
hypothesis,
Dr.
yeah.
Nipa said,
Yeah, I guess
precisely,
so.
it is the, it's her affect filter that is really not allowing her to move past that fear. And a lot of guided practice and scaffolding can help her with that in the classroom.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Yes, Dechen, do you have anything else to say?
And Namgal?
No,
Still?
ma'am, thank.
Okay. Namgal Gillick, do you have anything to say? Please unmute. It looks like we can't hear you because your mic is on unmute.
All right, then can we move on to the
I
kind of
think-
activities? Let me just wrap this activity up by suggesting the activities which you should be doing with this kind of student. We already know the hypothesis working here. So you should start from having her read out her essays loudly, in front of the group members. Divide them in group and allot each one group member to talk and discuss the essays they've written, and have her read them aloud, the essay basis which she has made the presentation. Slowly remove her blocks in talking in front of strangers by making her talk in front of her classmates and her friends. Yeah. Then encourage her to do a small presentation not related to this topic, then something, for example, her hobby or her best pastime activity. And once she gets enough confidence, then you could ask her to do a dry run with her classmates or with her group, right? of the same presentation. So after she is totally confident about what she has said, how she has said, and how the audience has received her message, I think she should be ready for a bigger event to present her, essay and the slides. Okay, thank you all. Shall we move on?
Yeah, and if you all still have something you want to share, please type it up in chat.
Right.
All of you who stepped up and raised their hands, thank you.
So
You're courageous, and thank you for taking that step. And some of you who still want to say something, use the chat function. You can ask us a question. You can also answer these questions, and we will be happy to see your responses. Finally, just make sure that your cameras are on, especially as we come to the end of this session slowly. We'd love to see your faces and connect with you. And of course, if you have connectivity issues, that's a different thing. We're going to move on, Nipa, with your insights. So we have about 3 or 4 insights that will really summarize the phase 1 learnings for us today. Please, over to you.
So insight number 1. As we have discussed many times during our on-site sessions, every classroom teaching moment is to prepare your students for using English authentically, meaningfully, and confidently in their outside world. Don't ever treat your chapters or your teaching as being limited just to the classroom or your course book or the textbook or the exams. You have to relate your teaching to the real life experience. For example, while you're teaching simple present and simple future tense, do a role play of a visitor who is lost in the city and needs direction, because we always give direction using these 2 tenses. Okay, have your students doing role play of a chef and the one and another person who is actually going to test their dishes, right? So describe that person who is have that person who is a chef describe the recipe of the dish that he or she is going to make, right? That way you can always connect your teaching. Or maybe it could be grammar, or as we did Kalpana Chawla, chapter. You design mini activities. It was totally, a non-fiction kind of thing. And what we did was we made it very interesting. You could, convert your students, one into interviewer and one into interviewee. They're also, familiar with celebrities being interviewed. And that way you can teach them how to create questions and how to answer questions, right? How to explain, right? How to advise, how to convey message, and so on. So always connect your teaching with the real life use of the language, and you will never be disappointed. Your learners would pick up your teaching points faster than you can think. Anything to add, Tarana?
I wanted to add that, we were walking around the Leh town. I was there in September, and I found a beautiful map somebody had drawn of the Leh town. I kept it. I think it was in one of the shops, maybe the Jigmet Couture or something like that, where the artist had drawn it. If you are walking by that shop, please pick up a map, because that is what you can take to your classroom. As soon as I picked up that map, I realized, oh, this is perfect for a classroom. If I can, if I don't have it I didn't bring it with me back to the US, but please remember, if you're in that area, go inside Jigmet Couture and ask them for a map of Leh. It's beautifully drawn. You can take a picture and share it. Actually, Sewang, if you happen to be there, pick up one and put it on the WhatsApp group, and people can print it. So things like that, are really wonderful ways of engaging. Postcards. I found so many great postcards in the market area. You can bring them to your classroom. Menu cards, right? So many authentic materials that you can bring from the city and ask them to pretend they're travelers or tourists and do role plays. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and if you connect to that book by NCRT, which gives speaking and listening exercises, you'll find many such activities describing a recipe and giving directions and ordering in a restaurant and at the airport and on all. These activities connect your learners with the use of language when they step out of your classroom into the real world. Now, going on to insight number 2. We build our students' English proficiency to move beyond textbook English. As you know, English, when you and I used to study, it was divided into two, a library language or textbook language, and one which only the native speakers spoke when we were studying, that was authentic or real language. Now there are no such limits or barriers, right? Now English has become the world language, the lingua franca, right? So if you want to teach adverb of frequency, ask them what are their habits, what is their routine, and what things they do every day, regularly, frequently, always, generally, sometimes, and that way they'll get a feel of frequency adverbs. You don't have to teach them by putting them on the board, right? But drawing a timeline would definitely help. Draw a timeline on the board. On the one hand, put never and rarely, and on the other hand, put always and generally. And in between, you can put all the other frequency adverbs and show them which is used when, while you are listening to the daily habits and the routine, right?
Yeah, and this is a great poster, right, that you can create. That we just, timeline posters of very simple, tenses posters of time of any variety that you can create. Please create them, because studying time points, tenses in English and frequent adverbs of frequency and things like that can be very confusing for learners, because in our first language, we use time in a different way and we don't have so many markers, right? So make visuals. Visuals are very powerful.
In fact, I would suggest ask your students, turn it into a project and ask your students to make posters. They would even more enjoy it. And in the process of, creating that posters in the correct sense, they'll have to read, do research, discuss with their group members, and all these activities as teachers, we love it, don't we? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And again, this could become a more language generating way of engaging the students. You give them directions, you have them repeat the directions of how to create the poster and so on, so.
Going on to insight number 3, we are busy teachers with a lot of curriculum to cover, right? So you have to guide your students and make them empowered to become self-learners. Encourage them to discover and explore ideas and concepts related to what you have taught or what you are going to teach, and help them explore it on their own. And in this adventurous and ambitious journey, be their guide, be their mentor, and encourage peer teaching. Yeah, encourage that smarter or a student who learns better or who is better at English, have that person help the other students. That way you lessen your load, and always collaborative learning. I mean, I cannot, overemphasize the importance of collaborative learning or group learning. What do you say, Tarana?
Yeah, I'm reminded of our own times in high school or college. All of you will relate to this, where we would sit in a circle with our friends, exchange notes, test each other, quiz each other. And we used to do this informally. Now there is a science behind collaborative learning. Exactly. So this is not something different from what we experienced as youth and young learners in our times when we were students. It's the same thing. But now as a teacher, you can organize it in a systematic, scaffolded way so that peer learning is guided by you, is encouraged by you as the teacher, and you put the students in a habit of doing it so that they know when it's time to do vocabulary flashcards, You put them in a circle and they're doing it, right? So things like that will encourage participation. Some students are shy to speak to you, but when you put them in a group and send them off to practice something, they're happy to talk to their friends. Okay, so that's why we feel that collaborative learning, it's an old concept with a new outfit, backed up by the science of learning and teaching, by good pedagogy. Structure it well, and you will see a lot of results.
Great. Moving on to our final insight, right? You need to include or embed at least one speaking activity for every lesson, which is directly connected to the real world communication. This type of lesson planning is known as integrated skills lesson planning or integrative teaching, right? As opposed to segregating teaching, this is an integrative teaching. So you need to recycle the vocabulary and always personalize the experience in kind of role play or simulation kind of scenario, or at least have them do the brainstorming session or group discussion. That way, they'll feel a sense of belonging to the teaching items, and they will adopt it, and it will be ingrained in their brain much more easily, right? With fewer efforts, you'll be able to do it. So always think of a speaking activity related to your lesson. For example, we did standard 8 chapter 5, right? What did we do? So submit within. Remember that person who submitted Mount Everest. So again, you could go for a role play of interviewing that person, divide your students, or you could ask them to design a presentation based on that particular Everest submitter or somebody else, because there are so many people, as we discussed, who have submitted Everest. So give them an assignment and ask them to present those slides in the classroom. So that way they'll personalize, and the speaking activity would be integrated in any kind of lesson you take. Okay. This was the insight, and now we are open to questions.
The floor is yours.
Yes.
Please ask any questions you may have, anything related to the topics we've covered today. Phase 2 will happen in January on a webinar again. But if you have any questions, something you tried and it did not work, or it worked beautifully, if you want to share something, please speak up. You don't need to raise your hand. Just unmute yourself and share.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, please say your name when you start. That way we know who you are, because some people have not changed their name on the screen.
Okay,
so,
hello, everyone. I'm Sering Angmo.
Yeah, Sering, could you turn your camera around? I'm seeing your steering wheel.
Okay, sure. Is it okay now?
Yes, there you are.
Okay, I'm Sering Angmo. I tried video and audio lessons in my class. I shared it on RTT Facebook group also. And
I saw that.
And it worked beautifully for them, and they enjoyed the lesson so much. And on the whole, what I can say is it was beautiful, and the responses which I got from students was it was awesome. I would say that.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for the positive feedback. Right?
Yeah, positive feedback. Yeah, ma'am.
How did it make you feel, Sering, when you tried something new? What does that change for you going forward?
I felt great. I enjoyed myself teaching in that manner, and I think all of us should try our hands at new things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And does this make you more efficient? How does this change things for you?
Of course. It reduces my workload. It makes the class more interesting. It makes me feel more efficient, and it makes me feel that students are more interested and more responsive towards me, and they are more interested in taking English classes. And it makes me feel that they are encouraged to speak English and they are encouraged to process their thoughts in English.
Wow. So with one
Excellent.
activity, you saw so many changes. Is
Yeah,
everybody
ma'am.
listening carefully? Because, you know, sometimes there is a little, you know, we say we have this idiom in American English, teach an old dog new tricks. Our brain is an old dog as we get older, mine too. And to teach the old dog new tricks takes a little time. But once we learn those tricks, we can see how much more time, energy, and results we have from the students. And that's what Seringangmo has just shared with us, which is very powerful. So thank you so much for doing
Thank
that.
you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who else?
Anybody with any questions?
At least two more. Come on, everybody. We have almost 100 participants here. We would love to hear from one or two people. Anything that you tried, any small or
Okay,
big.
Tarana, I have one question here which was
Yes.
posted on the WhatsApp.
Chat on WhatsApp?
Yeah, WhatsApp
Yeah.
chat. And the question is, she is Saira and she's teaching standard 5th, 8th and 9th. And she's saying that I'm encouraging students to speak in English because of the existing tradition of translation in Hindi or local language. They are facing certain difficulties in speaking English. I'm trying my best to use the different skills which I've learned. It may take some time because at 5th standard, what skills can I use? That's her question, to make them speak more English, right? So my answer is, first of all, thanks for posting this question because many of you are teaching primary standards. That's what I've realized during the training. So see, it is not the question of learning a skill. As we have discussed before, that learning a foreign language takes time. Especially expressing yourself successfully in written and spoken form is going to be a laborious process for learner as well as teacher. So patience is the first and the only virtue which will come in handy for you as of now, Saira. But second thing is,
thank you.
Second thing is you'll have to assess your learner and decide which level they are in production of language. Remember, we did 5 stages, that is silent period, speech emergence, and early speech emergence, right? So at which stage they are, and then you have to provide them an input which is little more challenging. Provide them with lot of scaffolding, not just in form of vocabulary, but in form of posters, visuals, audio, and so on, right? And that is how you'll be able to encourage speaking, but keep up the good work, right?
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, thank you very much.
Great. Thanks for these questions. I think I believe strongly that when you inquire, everybody grows with you. So if there are any other questions or thoughts you want to share, please go ahead. We can take one or two more. I think this is very valuable. This is precious for all of us to learn from. Anybody?
Hello, everyone. Hello,
yes,
everyone.
Yes, Tashiangchut, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon,
ma'am. Nipa.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So I want to understand more about the dictogloss as you taught us.
Right.
So how much it is useful, and I need to know more about dictogloss. Can you, ma'am, please?
Yeah. So see, dictogloss is an activity which is popular and which has been there for many years. This is mainly important when in two scenarios. Number one is when you want to teach a new grammar item without naming them. Remember our inductive grammar session?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So when you don't want to name which grammar item you are teaching at that time, it would be very useful. And another scenario is when you want to review the grammar topics which you've already taught them and you want to check how well do they remember. In both the scenarios, it works beautifully, right?
Yes,
What we did was we were in the process of learning a new grammar topic that was second conditional. You were given a lot many examples, right? And then the second last activity was this dictogloss. By then you all were quite familiar with second conditional. So most of you ended up producing or reproducing the second conditional while you wrote that text. Remember
I
all
see.
of this? Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So
ma'am. Yes,
if
ma'am.
you want a step-by-step account of dictogloss, supposing you want them to practice, say, simple past tense, right?
Yes,
Then what you can do is you can have an audio, right? Where there is a 3 to 4 minutes audio where there is a short story. Take, for example, Aesop's fables, right? Generally, stories are made in using simple past tense. Ask them to rewrite that story. I repeat, ask them to rewrite that story after 2 listenings, as we did, right? First time
Yes, ma'am.
I read out and you just listened to that. Second time when I read, you all made notes. Follow the same pattern and see how well they are able to use simple past tense, and notice these 3 things. Number 1, are they able to use regular form using ed and d correctly? Because we are asking them to write in dictogloss. Second, are they spot on while using irregular past forms of the verb? Because make sure that you include some of them, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Third, when they are using negative or question, yeah, question form, are they able to use it successfully and correctly? Yeah. So if they can use it while telling a story or while explaining that story or answering your question related to that story, because that's when they'll have to use it, then you can safely say that, yes, you've been successful in teaching them simple past. This is just one example. But as in when you progress through your curriculum and you find that there are some, say, for example, phrasal verbs, or one chapter has more than 5-6 idioms, and you want to ensure that they understand these idioms correctly, meaning of these idioms, and they can use it correctly, you can even design your own text for this dictogloss, record it in your voice, or read it out. Take your pick, right? After all, it is a listening practice for them. For you,
Yes,
it could be a reading text, or it could be an audio, whatever is convenient to you. Embed all 6 or 7 idioms which you taught them in the previous lesson and just check their understanding, how they recreate this with complete understanding. And here it would be interesting to see that instead of using that idiom, for example, it is not my cup of tea. Instead, if they use, oh, I'm not interested in baseball, that means they've understood it perfectly. It would go just the other way around, right? So that means they've understood the meaning of something not being your cup of tea, means you are just not interested in that particular activity, event, or whatever it is. Yeah. So,
yes, ma'am.
yeah. So
Thank
please.
you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay,
Good
so
question. I think Nipa, you had told me that the dictation activities dictographs were very popular, and this review was helpful, I'm sure, for a lot of them. So Tashi, please, thank you for asking this question too.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so this program, before we wrap up, let me say something related to this program, that today in today's webinar, 105 English teachers participated, and this program, Reinforced Teacher Training, including this webinar, has been launched and conducted by Ladakh Autonomous Hill Council, Leh. And the program's name is Reinforced Teacher Training, which caters to all the English teachers in the area of Khalsi and Nubra zone. And we discussed phase number 1 of RTT under the aegis of Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council. And I'm thankful to all the government officials in LAHDC LA who have given us this opportunity to conduct this program with all these beautiful English teachers who are so brilliant, so curious, and so very interested and engaged and involved. Thanks a lot for your engagement. And once again, I would like to wrap this up by thanking Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Nipa ma'am.
Yeah, we have one poll for you that we'd like you to take, and we're very grateful to the Chief Education Officer for thoroughly following this session, along with the district and zonal officers as well. This encouragement and motivation means a lot. In my experience and Nipa's experience, we have taught all over the world, everywhere, but to see this level of commitment also from all the stakeholders who are supporting the program, who are encouraging all of us is very rare. And so thank you so much, all the officers, for being here. It is a tremendous pleasure. Please take a moment, everybody, on your screen to tell us how this webinar went for you, what was most useful, and you have access to our WhatsApp group as well as the chat here to give us any suggestions for what we can do better in the next session. So we definitely want to hear about any improvements you think we can make. And from my side, I would really like all of you who are not on camera to at least upload a photo so that we can put a name to the face, and also turn on your cameras for the last few moments that we are together here so that we can see each other, make eye contact, and celebrate this gathering that you have all come to. I think it's really tremendous, right? To see such a great turnaround, such a great amount of participants.
And let me thank CEO sir and both the ZDUs personally for their attendance and for their interest and encouragement that they've provided to RTT and this webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Continue taking
Thank
the
you so
poll.
much.
We will see you on on our video cast on Facebook group.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank
please
you.
keep using Facebook and keep uploading your videos and teaching sessions. We would love to see them.
Okay, Nipa ma'am.
And I thank Deputy Chairman sir, Sharing and Chuk sir for giving us the opportunity to host this webinar and to run this program.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, it's great. Most of them are saying all of the above.
That's great.
Yeah, that's
Mission
great.
accomplished.
Mission accomplished successfully.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. See you all again in January. You'll be hearing from
Our
us.
next webinar, phase 2.
Yeah. And we want to thank the team that has supported us today. Sevang, of course, Rinchan is here. Our entire team in Leh who has supported this session.
Yes, thank you so much, Team Leh, for being a great support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Enjoyed this session with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. You may sign off. We will probably stay a little longer to discuss as a team, but all of you can just leave the session. You can close your Zoom. We'll see you again in January. And of course, on Facebook and through our video cast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great winter
very
time.
much, ma'am.
Everybody have great vacation.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sleep a lot, play a lot,
Yes.
and plan some lessons.
Okay, ma'am.
Till teachers need little bit more practices and they can become more proficient in future. Thank you so much, Madam Nipa, and both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
All right.